What you're about to hear was said in front of every camera in Hollywood. What you're about to learn was buried before most people finished watching it. By the time the Golden Globe's red carpet had emptied and the awards were being handed out inside the Beverly Hilton ballroom, the clip was already the most shared piece of entertainment footage in 18 months. Not a rehearsed speech, not a prepared statement vetted by a publicist and cleared by a legal team. 47 seconds of a man standing in a tuxedo in the January night air, holding a pin on his lapel, saying the thing no one else at that event was prepared to say. Directly, without decoration, in a register that did not perform outrage but simply delivered it, clean and complete, at the exact volume of someone who has been waiting for a long time to say the truth in a room full of cameras and has decided tonight is the night. 3 networks cut into programming within the hour. The White House communications director responded within 40 minutes. Trump's post arrived at 2:31 a.m. None of the responses addressed a single specific thing, Ruffalo said. Not one. But to understand why that matters, why the silence in the responses is the loudest element of the entire story, you have to begin 20 years before the red carpet in a backstage corridor in 2004 with a conversation that Mark Ruffalo has carried for 2 decades and has never, until this year, said out loud in public. January 12, 2026. The Beverly Hilton Hotel. The governor's ballroom is sealed for taping. Outside, in the organized chaos of the pre-show red carpet, 200 journalists, cameras, and microphone booms are positioned along the press line in the precise formation that awards season produces each year. Controlled, choreographed, every outlet assigned a position. Every celebrity managing the 20-foot gauntlet of sound bites and step-and-repeat photographs with the professional efficiency of people who have done this enough times to make it look effortless. Mark Ruffalo arrives on the carpet at 6:14 p.m. He is wearing a tuxedo and 2 pins. The first reads, "Be good." The second reads, "Ice out." He stops at the USA Today position. Not the first stop on the carpet, not the position with the widest reach, but the one where the reporter asks the question that opens the door. She asks about the pin. What does it mean? Who is it for? Ruffalo looks directly into the camera. "This is for Renee Nicole Good," he says. "Who was murdered?" The sentence lands with the flatness of a coroner's report. Renee Nicole Good, shot and killed by an ICE agent in Minneapolis the previous week. A name that the news cycle has already begun to process at the standard industrial speed of a story that fits no one's preferred narrative cleanly and therefore gets moved past faster than it should be. Ruffalo says her name. He says the word murdered. He does not say tragically killed or passed away or any of the constructions that soften the impact of a government agent shooting a civilian. He says what he means using the word that means it exactly. Then he turns the corner. We're in the middle of a war with Venezuela that we illegally invaded. Short sentence. No subordinate clauses, no hedging language. The camera operator holds the shot because there is nothing happening in the frame except a man saying things clearly, and the lens does not need to make a decision about that. He's telling the world that international law doesn't matter to him. The only thing that matters to him is his own morality. A pause. 1 beat. Controlled. But the guy is a convicted felon, a convicted rapist. The carpet noise around him, the constant low roar of an awards show red carpet, cameras firing, other interviews running simultaneously 20 feet in either direction, the PA announcements from the ballroom entrance, drops in the immediate vicinity of the USA Today position, not because anyone turns off anything, because the people holding microphones and cameras and clipboards in the 15-foot radius around Ruffalo stop their other movements simultaneously, the way people stop when they realize that the conversation they are standing next to has become the most important one in the room. He's a pedophile, Ruffalo continues. He's the worst human being. These words in this sequence from this man, standing here, on this carpet, in front of these cameras, the geometry of the moment is exact and complete. It does not require amplification. A 58-year-old actor, nominated for a Golden Globe, standing in January air in a tuxedo, saying the thing that every person in the entertainment industry has said in private rooms and green rooms and car rides home from events for years, saying it into a camera with the measured, direct delivery of someone who has decided that the private room is no longer the appropriate venue for a truth this size. If we're relying on this guy's morality for the most powerful country in the world, he says, then we're all in a lot of trouble. He does not look away from the camera to gauge the reaction of the people around him. He does not soften the landing with a self-deprecating phrase or a pivot towards something lighter. He finishes the sentence. He says who the pin is also for. The people in the United States who are terrorized and scared, the people whose fear is not abstract, not political, but physical and daily and real. He says he is one of them. He says he loves this country. He says what he is seeing is not America. Then he moves down the carpet. The reporter holds her microphone at her side for 2 seconds after he goes. The camera operator does not immediately pan to follow the next arrival. 3 journalists from adjacent positions step toward the USA Today spot and ask her what just happened. She says, "I'm not sure yet." The clip is live on the USA Today social feed at 6:22 p.m., 8 minutes after Ruffalo stopped to speak. In the first hour, it receives 400,000 views. In the second hour, 1.2 million. By the time the awards show itself has concluded and the winners have delivered their speeches inside the ballroom, the red carpet clip has been seen more times than the most viewed moment from inside the ceremony. By morning, it is the most shared celebrity video in 14 months. But the clip is only the surface layer of the story. The deeper layer, the one that explains why Ruffalo said these specific things in this specific order at this specific moment, begins in 2004, not on a red carpet. In a backstage corridor at NBC Studios in Burbank during the taping of a late-night program on which both Ruffalo and Trump were scheduled as guests on the same night. Ruffalo has referenced the encounter in general terms across the years. The sense of being in proximity to a man whose private behavior contradicted everything his public presentation was built on. The specific quality of the way Trump spoke about women when he believed he was outside the frame of any camera. The moment in the corridor that lodged itself in Ruffalo's memory, not because anything dramatic occurred, but because nothing dramatic occurred, and that absence was its own kind of evidence. In 2026, in a Variety interview timed to the awards season, Ruffalo put specific language to it for the first time. He describes standing in the corridor while Trump's segment was finishing. He describes hearing Trump before seeing him, the voice carrying around the corner, with the confidence of someone who does not modulate volume based on audience, who speaks at full power in all rooms because all rooms are his rooms. He describes the moment Trump comes into view, surrounded, performing, the center of a moving circle of people whose function is to maintain the performance. And then he describes what Trump says when a production assistant, young, female, early 20s, holding a clipboard, steps slightly into the path of the group and apologizes. Trump looks at her. He does not stop walking. He says in the voice he uses for observations he considers too obvious to require emphasis. She'd be prettier if she smiled less. Smart women never know when to stop. Ruffalo says he stood in the corridor for 30 seconds after Trump's group passed. He says no one in Trump's circle looked back. He says the production assistant with the clipboard looked at him. They had never met, would never speak again, and he could not find a single thing to say that would have been adequate to what they had both just heard. He carries it for 22 years. "I didn't say anything," he tells Variety. "That's the thing I've thought about most, not what he said, what I didn't say. And I think about all the people who have been in that corridor, metaphorically, literally, who didn't say anything because the corridor feels like the wrong place and the wrong time, and the cost of speaking feels too high." He pauses. "The red carpet felt like the right place. January felt like the right time. And the cost of not speaking finally outweighed the cost of speaking." The Variety interview runs on January 11th, the day before the Golden Globes. The corridor story is the third item in the piece, buried past the awards campaign coverage and the film discussion. Most readers do not reach it on the first pass. But by the evening of January 12th, when the red carpet clip is circulating at 1.2 million views per hour, the Variety piece surfaces beside it, linked by journalists who have read the full interview, shared by readers who recognize that the two documents explain each other. The red carpet statement is the present tense. The corridor story is the 22-year runway that produced it. Trump's communications director, Stephen Chung, posts at 7:02 p.m., 40 minutes after the clip goes live. The post calls Ruffalo one of the worst actors in the business and states that he is an even worse human being for spreading blatant lies. The post does not address Venezuela. It does not address Renee Nicole Good. It does not address the felony count, which is a matter of public record entered in a New York court in May 2024. It does not address the corridor story. It addresses Ruffalo's professional standing in Hollywood and his psychological relationship with himself. The response is screenshot at 7:04 p.m. and placed beside the red carpet clip in a split screen that requires no caption. On the left, a man in a tuxedo on a carpet in the open air saying specific things about specific events and specific legal records, looking directly into a camera. On the right, a communications director in an office, responding to the professional standing of the person who spoke rather than to anything the person said. The geometry of the juxtaposition does not require annotation. It is visible to anyone with a functional understanding of what a non-answer looks like when it is placed next to the question it is declining to answer. Trump's post arrives at 2:31 a.m. It is long. It calls Ruffalo a total disaster and not a big star by any stretch. It notes that the Avengers franchise would have been much better with a different actor in the role. It predicts that Ruffalo's career is essentially over and that nobody watches his movies anymore. It uses the word loser twice and the phrase fake news once in reference to the Variety interview. It does not mention Renee Nicole Good. It does not mention Venezuela. It does not mention the felony count. It does not mention the corridor in Burbank in 2004, the production assistant with the clipboard, the 30 seconds Ruffalo stood in the empty hallway after Trump's group passed, or the 22 years between that moment and the red carpet. The post is screenshot at 2:33 a.m. and placed beside the red carpet clip in the same split screen. By morning, the Variety interview has 8 million page views, more than it received in its first 24 hours of publication by a factor of 16. The corridor story, which was the third item in the piece, is now the most linked paragraph in the article. People share it with one sentence of context. This is why he said what he said. Ruffalo does not respond to the 2:31 a.m. post. He does not issue a statement. He does not appear on a follow-up interview to elaborate or defend or clarify. He wears the "Be Good" pin inside the ballroom during the ceremony. When his category is announced, the camera finds his face in the audience. Composed, present, the face of someone who said what he came to say and is comfortable having said it and has nothing further to add to the record that the record does not already contain. The geometry of the corridor story and the red carpet statement and the 2:31 a.m. post is complete. Every element is documented. The production assistant with the clipboard is unnamed and may remain unnamed. The 30 seconds in the corridor are recoverable only through Ruffalo's account. But the account exists and the public record exists, and the non-answer at 7:02 p.m. and the non-answer at 2:31 a.m. exist, and what they collectively produce is a picture that does not require anyone to draw the conclusion explicitly, because the conclusion is already drawn by the arrangement of the evidence itself. 22 years between the corridor and the carpet, 47 seconds on the carpet. 8 minutes between the statement and the clip going live. 14 months before anyone in that position had been willing to say those specific things in that specific order into a camera on a carpet that size, in a room that large, in front of that many journalists. The pin still reads, "Be good." The record still reads exactly what it reads. If this changed how you see power, hit subscribe. If it didn't, watch it again. The details you missed the first time are the ones that matter most. Notifications on. Next one drops soon.